And let's start with the Senators. I mean, granted, all 4 teams who are out on this global series really need victories. These are actually some pretty important hockey games. But for the Sens, they're 4-6-0 in their last 10. If they want to stay competitive, they're currently dead last in the Atlantic. If they want to get back into that mix, winning these 4-point games is going to be absolutely crucial for them. So this game against the Wings is massive.
It is. And I would say you look at this team and they have an opportunity to really get together and get on the right track. Last place in the Atlantic Division, a team that had expectations coming into the season, certainly no place that you'd want to be. And I think, you can just tell, sensing it here, talking to people here, there's an intensity here that I think the Sens enter with that maybe some of these other teams don't. Maybe some of them should have it, but I don't think anyone is arriving in Stockholm quite feeling the pressure like the Sens are. And look, they have a proud tradition here of Swedes that have been in their lineup, including Daniel Alfredsson for a long, long time. There's lots of Sens fans in Sweden because of Alfredsson. We'll see if they can put on a show.
Yeah, Alfredsson, of course, Erik Karlsson's prime years spent in Ottawa as well. The Sens right now 6 points back of the Red Wings with 2 games in hand. So you kind of start to do the math that, okay, if you can beat the Wings here, you take care of some other divisional games, like you are kind of right back in the mix, despite the fact you're 8th in your division. You mentioned Daniel Alfredsson. Interesting little twist here. He's going to be sliding behind the bench for the Senators. Is this truly a, hey, we're in Sweden, let's have some fun, mix it up? Or is there a chance Alfie's going to have like even more of a hands-on role going forward?
I think it's fascinating. You see the ownership change. Michael Andlauer comes in. All of a sudden, Daniel Alfredsson's brought back into the fold. And yeah, he's been on the ice quite a bit with the Sens when they're in Ottawa. But I tend to think that this probably isn't a coincidence. Great story for Sweden. And he mentioned that the coaching staff had asked him to join. And I bet you he's cringing for this exact reason that we're having this conversation right now. Certainly not the optics that Daniel Alfredsson might want, but as someone who has a line to others in the organization, including management, you would think that there's going to be some sense when this weekend is over what exactly Daniel Alfredsson thinks about how things operate on the bench, and also a sort of closer eye on what the players specifically are like in game. So he's got a treasure trove of experience. The Sens would be silly to not tap into that and use as much of that as they can. Nonetheless, I have to think that as the temperature is rising on DJ Smith, that the Sens would probably consider anything that they can to improve this team in the near and long term.
Yeah, like if the Sens go and win both of these games in Sweden with Alfie behind the bench, how do you not return to North America and just keep that rolling just for the vibes alone?
I was thinking more big picture. Like if DJ Smith isn't here, we've seen other, top level NHL players, Hall of Fame players be brought to the bench without any NHL experience. Is he a potential option at some point? Marty St. Louis is a great example recently. I doubt it. I haven't really gotten a sense that Daniel Alfredsson wants to be as involved as some others are, but he is here and it is an interesting sight.
Even potentially in a Paul Coffey-esque role where he's on the bench as a bit of an advisor. Let's move along to the team the Senators are going to be facing off against in just a couple of hours in Sweden. It's the Detroit Red Wings, and kind of a similar thing. They've sputtered a little bit, 4-4-2 in their last 10, but still they sit 3rd in the Atlantic, and they've really been riding that hot start from early in the year. That's what's kind of kept them up near the top of that division. And for the Wings, I think just being consistent is going to be the biggest hurdle for them this year. If they can avoid stretches where they're 2-8 in over 10 games, if their worst stretches are 4-4-2, they're going to be able to stay in the mix all year because of their hot start.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of today's NHL. Certainly try and milk as many points as you can. There's fans from all 4 of these teams here, and I ran into some Red Wings fans today while I was grabbing a cup of coffee, and the first thing they asked me is this team for real? And I'm not sold yet was my answer. And that's what I would say here as well. You look at their last handful of games, 3-4-2, and that hot start and the 5 games that they won in a row at the beginning of the season have really sort of buoyed and made this start seem better than I think it really is under the surface. I still have real questions about not just their goaltending, but also their defense core and its makeup. They've got unquestioned talent up front. They've got defensemen in their pipeline that aren't really quite ready yet. But this kind of felt like a year in transition for the Wings, that they were trying to maybe bump up that timeline a bit. And I'm just not sold yet that it's there. Let's see what this weekend looks like. Let's see what the next couple weeks look like, because I have a feeling that we're going to end up seeing a Detroit team that is closer to the bottom of the standings than the top.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you just because you look at how they've won a lot of those games. It's offense, right? 55 goals, tied for the most in the Eastern Conference. And I just look at that forward group, the top line, unbelievable. Raymond, Larkin, DeBrincat, that's legit. After that, I wonder about the depth of this team. If over the course of 82 games, when Larkin and DeBrincat go through a 5-game cold stretch, let's say, do they have enough offense in the rest of that lineup to really keep propelling them forward? That's my big concern.
My concern isn't the offense at all. My concern
Yeah.
is they give up a lot and they got to find a way to keep more pucks out of their net.
Yeah, that's fair as well. Ville Husso leaves the team away from Sweden. He comes back to Detroit actually for the birth of his child as well. So congrats to Ville Husso, but unavailable for the Wings here over the next couple of games.